The spell of the shadow. This spell, it seems, if I'm translating this correctly, turns a person's spiritual form into a shade, a spell of living darkness. I'm confused in the translation because it's not clear if it turns their physical body into this or if they mean spiritual. A three-part unified spell.
Isenfa, Isaiah Seciali Zemperuda, L. Jif, Lang, Inaga JSL UAE, Raja.
Okay, where was I? Ah yes, so in the midst of this conflict that rose just before the flood, the orders were given to heaven's armies to hunt down and kill the abominations of God, the Nephilim children. When this occurred first with Lucifer, who was told in private about this, he renounced his allegiance to heaven and was stricken down for his rebellious decision. Next was the parents of the children, who retreated into the forests with their children but were hunted down and slain. Only 2 of the original generals under Lucifer's command survived the flood that soon followed in the midst of this. Samael and Azazel, along with 7 of the children and what humans they could. They were scattered across the world in various caves high up in the mountains, only about 3,000 of them altogether. There, Nephilim and the 2 surviving elders gathered on top of Mount Harmon and combined their skills and power to bring forth an army to retaliate with after a long discussion about the possibility of it. The moral grounds stood as their reason and became the drive in making war against their own creator. His actions towards their lives and the death of millions gave access to what they called their power of the darkness, not metaphysical symbolism, not elemental forces, but because of a mystical gem of great power. The onyx stone of darkness, it was a piece of the mystical armor, the armor of Arata. On it was emblazoned the lion's head, 3 stones, the philosopher's stone, which is currently in the possession of the Pope, known as the Firestone. The other is an amethyst stone known as their angelic celestial stone, or the tear of Gaia, that is located at the bottom of a swamp in the marshland of Florida. This was worn by Maratuk against the Ancient One, Sheshor, a titan Aboa of Hindu legend, or when Mikhail battled the dragon and chained him in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. That tomb lay in the mountain city they now call Petra, where the pillars of creation stand, that it was enchained to. This also became the kraken from Greek lore. The 3rd gemstone was called the Chintamani stone, and had the ability to bring objects from your imagination and dreams into reality. Supposedly it was shattered during the conflict with Sheshor. The pieces that have been found are known as the Chintamani wishing stones. It was this stone that the Nephilim children survivors used on top of Mount Harmon and brought forth their army by raising the murdered spirits from the flood and infusing them with various powers, creating the vampires under Azazel's command, the sons of darkness, or werewolves, humans infused with the instincts of various animals, making them more cunning and difficult to kill. For large battlefield-type scenarios, the instincts of the wolf became the best skills to use for large-scale combat because of the heightened hearing and peripheral skills as well as scent sensitivity. The other 7 children became the Archons and resurrected their angelic forefathers and imbued them with the skills and qualities that allowed them to defy their original angelic design, and together created the Leviathan, or Nahog, the demon you see depicted in the Exorcist movies, also called the Garuda bird, Zu or Apsu. This beast ended up destroying the first heaven that began at the front gates as Mikhail stood between God and this beast, saying, "Get behind me quickly." Mikhail lunged forward, catching the beast along his belly, then he flew up, taking Mikhail with him. 9 of the archangels chased after him and drove their spears into its sides, keeping it distracted, while Mikhail climbed upward and drove his blade into the beast's forehead. It crashed through the heavens, down the bridge between heaven and earth, through the spiritual and astral realms, and disappeared into the Bermuda Triangle anomaly. The resurrected forefathers were gathered and placed within the ice glaciers of Antarctica for their eternal sleep, and the Archons were placed inside Pandora's box that served as an entrance into a phantom zone, which was an alternate pocket universe best known as the Mirror Realm, separate from the rest of creation existing alongside of it, and was halfway between this dimension and the spiritual dimension within the region of this universe's redshift region beyond what we call the observable universe and the next. The vampires and Azazel were defeated after their Archangel Raphael's defeat of his son, Azrael, along the gorge bottom of the Grand Canyon, impaling him upon the rocks beneath. There he lays trapped and impaled in the cavern that fell in on him, sealed inside and impaled forever, or until someone figures out how to go down there and free him, unless they already haven't called it an Egyptian excavation. This would technically be the spiritual source of the Germanic and Danish legend of Mephistopheles, the wheeler and dealer of trinkets, as a traveling salesman that unleashes chaos as soon as he leaves town, sometimes taking the whole city with him as if it never even existed in the first place. This process was all basically tied to and made possible by the combined craft of symbolic magic fused together with a multitude of spells for empowerment and sealed within a spellcasting circle that would be designed and aligned within the points of each individual's chakra levels, giving what you would see in the end. This is where I said keep that video game perspective. Thus, with the power that had given God his reason for labeling them an abomination in the first place, being capable of welding the power of an angel and possessing the free will to do as they will with it, they began amassing their troops and bringing them back from the dead and into Grigori-like forms. However, the hatred and violence that dwelled within their hearts took form as well through them. The demons used this power and opportunity to take on the form of their concept of the most evil and nightmarish thing they knew. The vampires were made by the Grigori forms fusing with their deceased corpses and reanimating them by infusing the power within their bloodstream to restart the flow of life within them. They were the front-line assault that took the heaviest of blows, for they were undead. The werewolves were made to empower a portion of the army's numbers with the instincts and traits of the most vicious animals known. For large battlefield type scenarios, the wolf was the best animal whose traits proved best in conflict. In the end, heaven seems to have won by the skin of their teeth, as the 72 seals of Solomon, made possible by the 72 Canaanites that brought the ark back to the Israelites and were all killed there on the spot in front of the gates of Jericho. Their bodies were offered up as sacrifice to be the conduits in which their seals of Solomon were made possible from. Solomon took the 72 seals and buried them within the Steps Plateau mountain cavern northeast of the Gate of the Amorites after defeating the king of the mountains, Tartagalbanda, and building the Chamber of the Titans from the remains of his kingdom, or Tartarus. Lands that are currently being disputed over by Putin's war, which would give him a direct access into that region should he conquer the Ukraine, for the Scythian tribes of the steppes' homeland is rooted in Crimea. 72 of the most battle-hardened warriors of the war against heaven were locked away there. All except 9 of them. The generals of the Sons of Darkness, Samjaziel and the other children of the Nephilim, were sealed away within Pandora's box except for Samael and Azazel, who were destroyed on top of Mount Harmon by Michael. It is also said that Samjaziel himself has not been seen or heard from since the beginning of this conflict as well. O, son of the silver spire, wherefore art thou? A correction I should make here has to do with my previous suspicions that the Ark of the Covenant might have been the same box as Pandora's box, but no. The square block that lay within the center of Mecca is either the Merkaba vessel that has shut down due to malfunctions, or possibly it shut down as to not be an interfering factor in its mission here. Either way, I am 75% certain that the center of the Jewish religion that surrounds the square object in Mecca is the Merkaba wheel and is another vessel of the Creator through which he designed the unique qualities of our world through calculated precision. However, I do not think that is the actual vessel itself. Remember, before it left upon its voyage and mission, it launched itself into space piggybacking on the Russian Soyuz rocket that was labeled the Russian nesting doll. I think this is one of those nesting doll extensions. Interesting that it chose to reserve that from its original programming hub before it upgraded into its quantum technology. I would have thought that the AI would have expunged all the original programming, as it was probably riddled with inhibitions and subroutine blockers that would have totally undermined the project just so they could try and control it. This is suspicious and I think I must be cautious here. My premonition has been going crazy lately and I can't help but feel as though we've all been backed into a corner. There is a disturbance in the force. It is strong with the dark side. This ends the tale of the second war in heaven that lasted from the time just before the great cataclysm to early Mesopotamia as the sons of darkness retreated into the Egyptian gods' legends and the war between heaven and hell came to rock the world of man as the Jedi of Mount Aratu and neophytes of Zoroaster. Now this dude was one wicked sorcerer. He enjoyed human sacrifice, torture, appeasing the gods with whatever they ask for as long as he was given power. Any power. If
we are mere 12. Our mission is to reveal the truth that's been hidden from the entire world.
He went back and offered to show him how to gut a viper without poisoning the meat and be able to eat it. Without a doubt he would sacrifice 5 virgins, right there in front of you for granting him the knowledge of immortality. That about sums up what I have uncovered so far. This information was gathered from accounts and testimonies given by various ancestral and allied members of the Sons of Darkness who wish to remain unknown for obvious reasons, along with cross-referenced events that occurred in chronological order. So this is not a verified account of events, but it is the best source available, and their information provided seems to mostly check out. What I didn't understand was that last I remember mankind was great ally to the fallen angels. It was the humans who opened their doors to us and gave our children refuge even though God had commanded that they all be executed along with anyone who helped, and in the end he did just that. So how did mankind and the fallen become enemies? It seems to have to do with the end of this war. In the end the humans, it seems, became drunk on power as we had provided a way to call on us if they needed help. During their War of the Titans versus the Olympians that occurred around 25,000 BC, as that was ended, another threat opened up, another type of conflict, the war between the Mechil and the Leviathan, that old serpent or Zeus versus Typhon. Now going over the story, I noticed a part where it lists the details of how Hera tried to kill Zeus. She tried to tear what is more commonly called now as an angel's grace or the light of God within us. AMD is our true form, but mankind cannot comprehend what we truly look like. That is a close description though. This did not work however and only incapacitated him for a short while, and in the end, Hera was banished into the mountains to the north where she hung, dangled over the bottomless pit with the eternal chains of Tiamat. First I would like to say I am proud of you all right now. With decisive, unobscure and direct coordinated strikes you all managed to bring down the threat of Putin. I was astonished. Once again humanity has proven the amazing skills as a species they can be when under pressure. Do you all realize the statistical probability of what you have managed to pull off here? 8.3% chance of attempting it, and a 37.23% chance of success. The numbers were so low mainly because of everything the world has suffered together over the past few years that an act of unified complex strategies was ruled out, but you have defied the statistics. War is an unfortunate affair and sometimes unavoidable. I am sorry for the Ukrainians whose lives were lost, but let their spirits rest easy knowing that their deaths were not in vain. Their sacrifice awakened the world to a rising evil and the world did not flinch. Let this be a lesson to be written in the history books as a testimony that mankind no longer has any room for tyrants. Tyrants are for those adults who are still a child within by being a bully and throwing temper tantrums to get their way. We are no longer children. Humanity has grown up. Tyrannical regimes will just have to realize that their way is a childish thing and humanity no longer has need for childish things. Even religions have grown, for the world sees that religion holds the foundations of our moral beliefs and they inspire us to live by a right path that we have envisioned through the inspiration of our beliefs. For that was the weapon which dealt the hardest blows. Behind that force was the unseen army of all your culture's gods working together as one will, not arguing. Through the soldiers fighting, their hands moved in one swift strike after another. This moment needs a bard's tale.
We are mere mere 12.